car, SUV, or truck, guess what? You're in luck. Frontier Motors is down the street. Got the best deals that can't be beat. Don't overpay, come in today. Doing business the old-fashioned way. Frontier, we've got the right price. Frontier, we'll treat you mighty nice. Frontier Motors, low overhead country.
Hello and welcome to the Frontier Motor Show. This is Ivan Struckel, owner of Frontier Motors, and we've been bringing this Blab TV show for the last 24 years. 1996 is when we started, and this is 2020, going on almost 2021. Well, thanks for tuning in, and this is the car show, and what we talk about a little bit here on the show is what's going on in the auto industry, what's new, what's the latest and greatest, and also a little bit how we can help you at Frontier Motors when you're in the market to buy a car. Now, I know that you might not be in the market, so don't change that channel yet, because you never know when you need some advice. And what I mean by that is, for example, when the hurricane came through, a lot of people came from us from after hearing the show, and they got free advice by us giving them in writing what the replacement value of their flooded car should be. And a lot of insurance companies lately are changing the program. When Hurricane Ivan came through years ago, we helped people get their values, and the insurance companies would write a check for the NADA book value plus taxes plus tag transfer, which I thought was fair. Most of the time, I could replace that car for that price or even a little bit less. So you had full replacement value. Now what they're doing is they're looking for comparables, and a lot of insurance companies are looking for comparables not just in our area, but all the way up to Atlanta and Orlando and other places. What they're doing is they're looking for cheaper cars that they can say, hey, the car like yours, I can buy down there for $3,000 less, which is hogwash. You know that you can transport a car from Orlando to Pensacola for about $300. So that wouldn't be true that you could buy one up in any area that I'm familiar with for less than somewhere else, other than if it's a place like California, which is 3,000 miles away, and it costs quite a bit to ship a car from California. But this nonsense that that car is less expensive in Atlanta than it is right here is not true, because I would buy the car in Atlanta and just ship it down here. So we are helping people with free advice, and they didn't think they were in the market for a car because they liked their car, but they were forced into it. And of course, the good thing for us at Frontier Motors is that we had 300 to 325 cars in stock, so we had plenty of inventory when the hurricane hit to be able to help those people in need immediately replace their cars. Some of our customers came in, they had 2 and 3 cars wiped out at once. You know, once you start that car with water in the engine, it's pretty much toast. So what we did is we not only were able to give them replacement value so they got proper money from the insurance company, but also replaced the car for them by them just making that call and asking one question. Well, hey, do you got a car like this in stock? One of my neighbors had a Lexus LS460 that got wiped out, and his first question is, can you find me one, but it's got to be black? And I said, yeah, I can find one. It took me about a week and a half, and I've got that car coming, and it'll be here in about 4 or 5 days. And that's one of the things that we do at Frontier Motors is we don't try to sell you what we have. Our job is to replace what you had if that's what you want again. Now, some people will change their mind, but that's a whole different subject. If people bought cars when they needed a car, I would be out of business in a heartbeat, folks. I love the fact that people like to trade. A lot of people just want something different. A lot of people are forced into something different. For example, they're driving a Ford Mustang and they got twins on the way. Now they need a minivan. So they're in the market not because that they want a car, it's just because now they need a car. And I've had it the opposite where, you know, now you got the empty nesters that are driving a minivan or maybe a Honda Pilot 8-passenger vehicle, and they want something a little sportier, a little smaller, maybe something that's got a little bit of gas mileage. So they're not in need of the vehicle. They just want something different. Also now, with the newest safety features on the vehicle that started becoming prominent about 4 years ago, things like blind spot, laser cruise control, automatic stopping, pedestrian lookout, backup cameras. These are reasons that I have some people now coming in and saying, hey, I want a little safer car than what I have. Everybody these days is on their phone in the car, and I am afraid that somebody's going to hit me. So I want those safety features on my car. And on some of the vehicles, Consumer Reports, when they rate a vehicle, on some of those features, they're not even rating the cars anymore unless they have at least some of these safety features standard. So, and I think that's great. I agree with the safety feature. It saved my life. About 10 years ago, I had a Jaguar that I was test driving. It had that laser cruise control, and somebody in front of me hit their brakes really, really hard. I wasn't on the phone, but I wasn't paying attention fast enough, and my car stopped automatically. Back then, you had to have the cruise control on for that feature to work. Now they have automatic braking where it'll work whether you have the cruise control on or not. Some of them just buzz, but some of the vehicles, the better ones, actually stop automatically when the person in front of you hits their brakes hard. Very cool safety feature. A good reason to swap just for that. Frontier Motors, free advice. It goes hand in hand. If you're going to sell a car, you're going to buy a car, you got a question about anything to do with buying or selling, you call Frontier Motors. If you're going to sell your car yourself, we can tell you, number one, what to sell it for, not just book values. You don't need B for book values, and call your banker. We use the NADA guidebook in our area, folks, for bankers. That will give you the NADA book value retail of what a bank would borrow on that car. But what if I can sell that car for quite a bit less? Or what if in some instances, like a Jeep Wrangler, they go for more than book value, especially an older Wrangler. If you're driving a 15-year-old Wrangler, the book might say it's worth $3,000. I haven't seen a $3,000 Wrangler in 10 years. Even a junk Wrangler is worth more than that. They just have this cult resale value guide. Matter of fact, last year, if you didn't know, the Wrangler was the number one resale vehicle sold in the United States as far as percentage-wise versus new. There used to be Lexus years ago. Well, the Wrangler overtook it, which is kind of cool when you think about it. A Wrangler, they're not even rated Consumer Reports because they're clunky, they're old, they're noisy, they don't get good fuel mileage, they don't have the safety features, but they got the best resale value. I can't figure it out. I guess people don't put faith in this Consumer Reports book. Anyways, that's a whole different subject we'll get to in a couple of minutes. When I talk about free advice, folks, how about free Carfax report, which costs you $40? If you're going to buy your neighbor's car, or if you're going to buy from a car dealer that doesn't provide free Carfax reports, call us with the ID number of the car. We will run it for you at no charge. I don't care if you've got 5 different cars you're looking at. I'll run 5 of them. The way that we can help you out is by guiding you, making sure that you're getting a car with a good history report and making sure that you don't pay too much. And by helping you make sure that you get a good deal on a car, even if you're buying it somewhere else, what that's going to do is the next time somebody asks you, hey, Joe, where should I buy a car? Hey, I'd go to those guys at Frontier Motors. You know, I didn't buy a car from them because I found one down the road I liked, or my neighbor had one, or I found one at work. But they helped me buy it, and they gave me a good deal, and they made sure that I got a good deal. And sometimes you can use our information to get the person that you're buying the car from to drop their price. If they're asking retail value, but retail value is too high based on the information that we give you, then you can use that information by going back to that person or car dealership and saying, hey, Frontier Motors said this. You can blame it on us. And we put our money where our mouth is. We do not give you false information to kink somebody else's deal. Let's say you found a car at Joe Blow Motors down the road or over on Palafox Street, or no matter where it was, and they told you the car was $20,000. If that's a good deal based on what I'm seeing that they're selling for, I'm going to tell you, hey, that's a good deal. I could sell you that car for $20,000, but it's not any better than that. Where I come in is when I can tell you, wait a minute, I can sell that car for $18,000, or I can sell the car for $20,000, but I can sell you that same car with half the mileage. Or the mileage is the same, the price is the same, but I can sell you that car with all the latest safety features, which according to Consumer Reports in this book says blind spot detection last year, to get that on a car, the average car price increase was $2,500. Now, not because anybody charges $2,500 for blind spot, it's because a lot of times you have to buy it in a package. And those packages cost anywhere from $1,500 to $3,500, depending on what package that falls into. Sometimes you've got to go with not the base model, but with the limited model to get that feature on it. And then what you're also doing is you're getting leather interior, you're getting sunroof. You might be getting things that you don't really need. You just want the safety features. So anyways, folks, that's where we come in by giving you that information and having you recommend us when we help you buy a car somewhere else. People are always so amazed that we say, I had a customer call from Destin last year, and he was looking at an Audi, and he gave us the information, and we told him, hey, if you don't buy that car for that price, I will. There's either something wrong with it, or it's a really good deal. because they were selling it for wholesale. And perhaps it's a dealer that had that in their inventory for over 90 days. There's some dealers that are on a strict 90-day turnover. What that means, when that car is 90 days old, either that car's gone or the guy that's in charge of the department is gone. So at around 70 days, they start marking the car down. So every once in a while, you can actually find a good deal. A lot of times I find out by doing more research on the vehicle that there's something wrong with it. I had that happen a couple of years ago with a Cadillac CTS, that somebody was saying that they could buy cheaper in Mobile by $2,000. So I ran the Carfax and it said that the vehicle had a salvage title. Well, of course you can buy it cheaper if you're going to have a salvage title. Matter of fact, that was way too much money for a car with a salvage title. Maybe if it had a minor accident, that would be okay, but not if it has a salvage title. Salvage titles are as much as 50% less in value than a regular car. And that gets me into the other thing that we help people with, that if somebody T-bones you at a stoplight, and I see this happen a lot in Pensacola, don't ask me why. It seems like we're famous for it. People think that yellow lights are actually green lights, and somebody, takes off early and boom, you got hit. You got broadsided. You've got $8,000 damage on your brand spanking new car. And what's going to happen to the value of that car? Well, it's going to tank. The reason is because of history reports. 20 years ago, if they fixed it at a really good body shop, you'd never even know. You'd never even say nothing. Well, now it shows up, major damage reported, vehicle was towed from the scene. What does that do to the value? It compromises the value. It doesn't make it sale proof. Somebody's going to buy that car. Somebody's going to buy a salvage car. Somebody's going to buy any type of car, even cars that have not been fixed. But there's always a price to pay. If you get in an accident, I'll give you a letter of diminished value at no charge. And we will give you our opinion what that vehicle is going to be reappraised for with that accident. And you take that to the insurance company, and lately, I'm talking about in the last 3 years, they've been writing checks. It's not a law, but your vehicle is worth less. Of course, the insurance company is going to fix it. That's what their job is. That's why you have insurance. But lately, they've been giving you also compensation, the other person, if it wasn't your fault. Remember that. If it wasn't your fault, you should be compensated. And we'll tell you how much. It's not a formula. It's just our opinion based on the fact that we've been doing this. I've been doing this since 1975 is when I started selling cars. And diminished values, we've been doing at Frontier Motors since we've been open in business. Because people will come in and ask us questions. Hey, how much less is my car worth? What if you got a $100,000 Corvette? That's $50,000 damage and they don't total a car. That's going to show up in the history report. Just imagine the diminished value on that car. I hate to even guess. I haven't done one of those yet, but I'm just using that as an example. Talk about examples. I've got an example of a great commercial from my buddy Dave Ramsey. And Dave came to us years ago and he said, hey, I would like to sponsor you in Pensacola. I would like to be the one that talks about Frontier Motors. He picked us out. The first commercial I didn't have to pay for. But he's really good because a lot of people pay attention to him because he's a money guru. He will not recommend a new car dealer. But in the metro area, one independent, and he picked Frontier Motors.
Hey, Pensacola, Dave Ramsey here. Thinking of buying a brand new car? Well, that's a big mistake. Last year, the average new car was $36,000, and the first year depreciation was 27%. That equates to a whopping $9,200. Go to the dealer that specializes in low-mileage, one-year-old cars and trucks. My friends at Frontier Motors. They're a used car dealer that I'm proud to recommend. Frontier will save you money over the price of a new car and make the usually dreaded car buying experience a whole lot more enjoyable. They've been serving the Pensacola community for 23 years, and they do much more than just sell cars. Replacement value, diminished value after an accident, Carfax reports, appraisals, help with paperwork for private transactions. They will do it all at no charge. Visit them online at frontiermotorsinc.com or stop by their lot on Beverly Parkway. When you're there, don't forget to tell them Dave sent you.
Dave does a really good job talking about what we talk about here in 30 minutes. He does it in 60 seconds. He does a great job. And one of the things that I always key on is the depreciation. The whole thing is I can go over example of depreciation. One of them that I can tell you about is the Tesla X model, which is that SUV they came out with a couple years ago with the gull wing doors in the back. Well, we've got on one on the lot. I think it's got 14,000 miles on. It is about $25,000 less than brand new. So folks, figure that out, $25,000. It's over a $100,000 car. So it depreciated about 25% in a year and a half. And this is one of the things, now that's extreme. I use that because it's an extreme example, but because there is such a big difference when you drive it off a lot, everybody knows the first year is the most. And like Dave said, first year depreciation is 27%. That's the highest. After that, it goes down another 16% and 14% after that. But the first year, and that's what we specialize in, is a 1-year-old car. Sometimes sometimes I'll buy a car that's got 5 miles on it that's 2 months old. And people will say, well, what's wrong with that car? I said, nothing's wrong with it. It's probably a dealer or a rental company that bought it and they overbought. They bought too many cars, so they take the cars to the auction. But I buy those cars at the auction as used. Therefore, I've got to buy them as a used car, and I've got to save you folks money. Because why would you buy a used car from me when you go up the road and buy a brand new one? Only one reason, because I'm going to buy that car at a used car price and save you enough money to make it worth your while. Or also give you a better bottom line. Sometimes people say, well, wait a minute, that car's only $3,000 less than a brand new one. But if I'm paying you $1,500 more for your trade-in, now if you add that together, that's $4,500. If you spend $4,500 less, you're also spending 7% less tax on there. There's another $300 or something. Well, if our doc fee is $300 less to do the paperwork, now all of a sudden we're adding up to some real money, maybe $5,500 on that car that seemed like it was only a $3,500 price difference, because you're only looking at the list price. And that's why I always urge anybody that purchases a car, forget about the asking price, forget about trade-in values. Concentrate on one thing. What do I got to write a check for? Always pretend like you're paying cash. Whether you're financing, going to your credit union, going to the dealer's credit union, which we have our own credit unions in-house, or going to dealer's bank or paying cash or giving you $100 bills, it don't matter. Always pretend you're writing the check. How much do I got to write the check for? Because if you go to the bank, they got to write the check. The same dollar amount. There's no difference. It's illegal to charge difference for cash versus credit. You go to one of those dealers, they're breaking the law. The price is the same no matter what. I don't know how GM and Ford can get away with it, because they have their little programs. You always see their program. Then they have a finance program where if you finance through them, it's cheaper. I always wonder how they get away with that, because there's a law in the books in Florida, so you can't charge different for finance versus cash. Somehow they're able to get around that. But if my out-the-door price on a 6-month-old car is $5,000 less than a brand new one, same year car, same equipment, same color, maybe the difference is 4,000 miles, you got a decision to make. Do I buy a car with 4,000 miles and save $5,000, or don't I? Most people would say yes. Every once in a while, I'll run into that customer and says, no, I don't care. I don't care how much you save me, I'm buying a brand new car. And we still help those people by giving them that free appraisal on their trade-in and make sure that the dealer they go to doesn't take advantage of the trade-in. If you've got an F-350 dually and you go to let's say you go to the Audi dealer. Now let's use a dealer that's not in town, because we have a new Audi dealer in town. I don't want to pick on them. Let's say it's Lexus. We don't have a Lexus dealer here other than me, but I sell used Lexus. But if you go to Lexus Mobile, how excited are they about an F-350 truck? When the salesperson takes it over to have that used car manager appraise that truck, guess what? They're not excited at all. There's not too many people go to a Lexus store for an F-350. So they call a third party. The third party gives a lower appraisal because they have to make money on it. So they're a middleman. The middleman you always want to cut the middleman out. How do you cut the middleman out? You make us the middleman by us writing a check for that dually. Being Frontier Motors, an independent lot, we sell all makes and models. And we sell anywhere between 150 and 250 cars a month. That's a lot of cars. We stock anywhere from 300 to 400 cars to give everybody a choice when they come to the lot. So if you're looking for an SUV, let's say you're looking at a brand new Lexus RX 350. Now you want to look at the BMW X5 or X3, and maybe you want to look at the Audi Q7 or Q3 or Q5, or maybe the Infiniti, the QX60 or 30 or 80 or 70. They got them all. At Frontier Motors, we have them all. So you can go to one dealer, look at all those different cars. Wouldn't that make it so much easier? You meet one salesperson that can show you, not sell you. There's a difference when you go to different dealerships. They're going to sell you their product because that's all they got. Because they know you're going to go across the street, maybe you'll buy there. That's where the pressure comes from also. Pressure to buy their car because it's the best. Pressure to buy their car because it's the best price. And the pressure because you're never going to be back. So they're pressured to making sure you're pressured. At Frontier Motors, we show you the car. You pick it out. You take it for a test drive. Then the next question is, what's your best bottom line deal? Because I heard you guys, that's what you do. So we do our due diligence. We make sure we know every car available in our area and how much they're selling for, and what the differences in equipment and color and everything else. And if we're not the lowest price, there's going to be a reason for it. Normally, it's because our car has got more equipment, lower miles, and most importantly, best condition. The auction rates their cars from 0 to 5. If it's not a 4.3 or above, which makes them almost perfect, I don't even look at the car. Where a lot of dealerships buy an average car, they'll bring it back to the lot, they'll buff it out and make it look good and take the dings out of it and pretend like it's an A1 class condition car. And there can be as much as $1,000 to $2,000, even more price difference between an excellent car, a well above average car, versus an average or below average car. And some dealerships like buying those below average cars because they can advertise. They got these big billboards on I-110. You ever see the billboards there? The old starting from? And they're really good deals on those billboard prices because they're ratty cars. You go there and look at them, you say, I'm not buying this car. And sometimes they don't detail them on purpose because they don't want you to buy that car. That's their advertised price leader. Now they're going to show you they're smart enough to buy the nice car too. And now the price goes up. And that's where that hook comes in. That's why car dealers have such bad reputation, and we have been put on earth to change that. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but for the last 24 years, I've been advertising the same thing, that we're out here to change the attitude of what everybody has of used car salespeople. And how do you do that? Well, number one, you don't lie. If you say something, if you tell somebody something, you do it. If you tell them you're going to fix something, you fix it. If you tell them you're going to throw something in, you throw it in. If you tell them you're going to do a better deal for them, you do a better deal for them. If you give them an out-the-door figure in writing and say, that's the best I can do, then that's the best you can do. And people really appreciate that, and that's why we become one of the largest dealers in the South, independent. When I say independent, we're not a retail dealer as far as a new car dealership. We're a used car independent dealership. And most people like it that way because, again, our salespeople are not pressured. Let's talk a little bit about good cars and bad cars. They got an article in not automotive news, in Consumers Reports. Best cars to get under $10,000. I am embarrassed about this report, folks. And the reason I'm embarrassed is because I said about 4 years ago that domestic products were getting so close that the domestics and the imports were almost the same as far as reliability and quality. And maybe back then it was, but it doesn't seem like it anymore, because right now, the best used cars under $10,000, I don't see any domestic products on this list. And that to me is embarrassing. A Honda Fit. I'm going to just rattle these off real quick. 2013 Honda Fit, 2012 Mazda 3, 2013 Corolla, 2012 Prius, 2010 an Acura, 2009 RAV4, 2008 Toyota Highlander, an 11 Camry, a 2010 Lexus ES350, and a 2011 Accord. Those are the cars under 10,000. Now don't forget, that's got to be average miles, so it's going to be miles in the 80 to 100 range. But the nice thing about these imports, the reason they're rated that is because their reliability is such that they can get 200,000 miles out of an engine transmission without major problem. Now, folks, anything can break. That's why cars have warranties, to assure you that for at least the first 3 years, if something breaks, it's not going to cost you anything other than a headache. Hyundai and Kia years ago came out with a breakthrough warranty where they said, we're going to give you a 10-year, 100,000 mile drivetrain warranty. One reason they did that is because their drivetrains used to be crappy 20 years ago, awful. They couldn't sell a car because the car wouldn't make it for the term of loan. Well, they've come a long way, baby. Hyundais and Kias are so good that I can tell you that right now, according to Consumers Reports, I've got an article here that says the best brands out there. Brand means overall, not reliability, overall. That means roadability, customer satisfaction. Did they like the car that they bought? Safety features, reliability, road test score. Number one, really can't even count it because they only tested 2 models or 3 models. Porsche's number one last year. They were number 2. Genesis is number 2. They've been number 2 for 2 years, number 1 the year before that. Genesis, that's the Highline division of Hyundai. It's the Lexus of Hyundai, is Genesis. We sell a lot of Genesis because we sell them used. Alan Turner's a new car dealer, and we're the used car dealer. Subaru was number 3. Love selling Subarus. Never see a customer complaint. 4-wheel drive, they never get stuck. Excellent cars. Mazda is the big sleeper. Toyota bought into Mazda, I don't know, about 10% years ago. Mazda's made a huge comeback with their reliability. Toyota owns a portion of them, and I don't know if you know this, but Toyota also owns a portion of Subaru, and that's maybe why Subaru and Mazda are way up there. Toyota, by the way, is way down to number 12. Maybe they're sending all their engineers over to Mazda and Subaru. Toyota's number 12 overall. Lexus is number 5. Audi is number 6. Hyundai is number 7. BMW is number 8. Kia is number 9. And so on down the line. The number 1 domestic is Lincoln at number 13. Again, folks, I want to reiterate that's not reliability. That's overall, including road test. If they didn't like the way the Lincoln drove, you wouldn't get as good of a review. If maybe a lot of safety features weren't standard, you didn't get as good of a review because I mentioned safety features important. Folks, we've only got about 2.5 minutes left. By the way, this is on Facebook, so if you happen to be cruising on your phone right now, type in Facebook, Frontier Motors. You can see my ugly mug live right now. If you got a question, go ahead and type it in there. We're also going to tape this show and put it on YouTube. So if you have anybody that's in the market for a car and you want to tell them about Frontier Motors, just tell them to go to see YouTube or go to our Frontier Motors website. Just type in Frontier Motors, Google that, and we are the largest Frontier Motors in the nation. There's about 5 of them. And because we're the largest with inventory and sales, we're going to come up first. And you're going to see over 300 cars. They've got pictures and they've got prices on there. There's also a little link to see if there's any negotiating. Some of our car prices on the web, of course, are already down as far as we can go. And some of them, I might have a little bit of wiggle room. So you can either email us or just do the old-fashioned way. Give us a call at Frontier Motors, and we will answer your questions and give you that all-important out-the-door price. Forget about, these dealers are adding on so many crazy fees. Makes my head spin. I had one dealer up north that the customer brought in the contract. He had 15 different fees that he charged. And I'm not exaggerating. I kept a copy of that contract. Absolutely idiotic. But he was able to advertise the car real cheap, but the out-the-door the price was not cheap. So anyways, what we will do is give you that out-the-door price that includes everything, including the dock fee, the tag transfer, the title, any other fees that are associated with that transaction. And you want to use that figure to compare to the next door figure. That's the easiest way to buy a car. You don't worry about the list price, the discount, the trade-in value. Only worry about what I got to write that check for. And this is the type of advice that we're going to give you at Frontier Motors from 8:30 morning till 6 o'clock at night. Again, folks, that's Frontier Motors, going on 24 years in business. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Have a great day. Auf Wiedersehen.
Frontier Motors is down the street. Got the best deals that can't be beat. Don't overpay, come in today. Doing business the old-fashioned way. Frontier, we got the right price. Frontier, we'll treat you mighty nice. Frontier Motors, low overhead country.